Hello everybody and welcome back to another Driving Empire YouTube video. My name is Draconic and today we are covering the Jesko Absolut versus the new Hennessey Aggressor that just released in the Shipped App update. Good news, if you still want the Hennessey, you can get it because the event is still going for another week. Without any further ado, let's get right into unlocking the car and right into the video. Alright, after about 4 hours of grinding, I have gotten the Hennessey Venom Aggressor. You get a whole bunch of cash rewards as well, so it's still worth grinding the event, even if you don't get the car, even though the car is the best part. It's a $7.5 million value car in the dealership, and it comes with incredible stats, and we'll get right into those stats as soon as we start Category 1. Alright, so here we are in the first category, which is model and audio. The Venom model that they have here is pretty ugly, but for like a knockoff model, it's actually not the worst they've done. I mean, see, the Audi one is terrible, but this one is actually fairly decent. In the sound, it's not grand. The startup is okay, but it really gets into like the wet vacuum territory with the revs. Doesn't sound like a V8 at all, but that's too bad. Let's go look at the Jesko and see how that V8 sounds. Here we are with the amazing Jesko Absolut. It looks pretty much perfect, and it has all the working doors, because this came out during the glory days of Driving Empire about last year, and it was pretty sick. I have no real issues with the model, and they recently just fixed the sound, so it even sounds good too. Personally, this car is a huge win, and I think it has a way better model. Unfortunately, we don't award points for the model category, but if it comes down to a tie, this will be the tie-breaking point. Let's go on to Category 2. Here we are in Category 2, which is car price. So the Hennessey Venom really comes through the event, but in the dealership, it is priced at $7.5 million. The Absolut was priced at $15, but that means literally nothing. Unfortunately, since the Absolut is off sale and gone, and the Hennessey is an event car, no car really has an advantage for being an on-sale car. So both are like kind of in a gray zone. They don't really get any points, except since the Absolut can come back in the future, it will receive half a point as a bonus because it may return in the future, unlike this car, which is likely to stay limited for a long time or forever. On to Category 3. Category 3 is car stats. In terms of stats, the Henray Poison T Rebellion, as it's called in the game, has a 312 mile/hour top speed, which is one of the best in the game. It has an acceleration of 2.3 seconds 0 to 60, which is pretty damn quick, and a handling of 74%. This makes it one of the best all-rounders in the game, on paper at least, and it should be a monster on both the track, especially at cross-country, and pretty much at all the races. In terms of the Absolut, though, its top speed is 320 miles an hour, which makes it the fastest car in the game. Its 0 to 60 is 2.4 seconds, and it has a 47% handling rate, which puts it at worse than the Poison T, but still an insane car in terms of performance. And to rank these two together, we look at who has the best majority of the stats. And since the Hennessey has a better acceleration by 0.1 seconds and about 30-ish% higher handling, it takes the win for the stats category, leaving it at a 1-point advantage into the fourth category. Alright, and the fourth category is pretty short because it is drag race. In terms of drag, the Hennessey comes in at 6.7 seconds while the Absolut is slightly quicker at 6.1. Neither of these are really drag cars, but the Absolut does beat the Hennessey by about just over half a second, which makes it the winner of Category 4. Now we are on to Category 5, which is highway race. So the Hennessey Venom Revolution has a really good top speed, but unfortunately, as you saw in drag race, its acceleration past a certain point really sucks. So although it's really fast at about 256 miles an hour, it does lag behind in top speed, and that allows it to finish almost 2 seconds slower than the Absolut, proving which car is still very much king of highway race. The Absolut earns a point here. Onto the next category. Here we are at Category 6, Drawbridge Sprint. So at Drawbridge Sprint, both of these cars are really good. Their top speeds allow them to carry a lot of momentum through the highways. Unfortunately, brakes are really important for this race, and acceleration is also really important because of the corners. The Hennessey has an advantage in handling, which it gets pretty good at the end of the race, but when you need to brake for the multiple hard corners in this race coming down from top speed, the lackluster brakes really on the Hennessey make it suffer, and it does lose out to the Absolut by almost a second. The Absolut coming in at 69 seconds and the Hennessey at 70 seconds. This is the point for the Absolut. On to the next category. So here we are on Category 7, Sofia Bay Race. Now this race is actually really close for both of these cars. The Absolut has an advantage on braking and acceleration, while the Hennessey has a great handling advantage. Both of these advantages come to play in this race, as the top speed is pretty much the same on both of the cars. And what you see is a really interesting occlusion. So throughout all the corners, they keep up with each other, with the corners being a bit better for the Hennessey, but it has to brake more. And so both of these cars managed 61 seconds on the race. But the Absolute got 61.4, while the Venom Revolution got 61.1, which is, as we all know, lower than 61.4. So the Venom begins its comeback and has earned a point in this category. On to the next category. Alright, so here we are on to Category 8, Circuit Race. So we pretty much know which car has a great advantage here. It's the one with like 30% more handling. The Venom Revolution doesn't really struggle at circuit. I mean, the only thing really holding it back from being something more like a Senna or like a F1 GTR is really just the acceleration. The handling is good enough to carry it around the corners pretty easily. It does have a couple bumps. It's a bit problematic when you're driving around circuit. Overall, it's not the worst. It's manageable. In terms of the Jesko, though, it has pretty bad understeer. The handling is not great on it, and it is not meant in any means for circuit. You can make do with it on all the other races that have more top speed areas, but on circuit, the only thing helping it in this case is the acceleration. It gets about 170 to 174 seconds on circuit, and the Hennessey can do lower than 165. So it's pretty clear that there's an about 10-second lead for the Hennessey. So it pretty much sweeps circuit race, gaining it another point in this competition. On to the next category. Here we are on Category 9, Cross Country. Now both of these cars are actually really good at cross country. You'll find that the Jesko Absolut's acceleration, braking, and speed are able to carry it through the corners and through the straight sections at a pace that you wouldn't expect for a car with like 47% handling. That handling does unfortunately drag it down from its counterparts like the Jesko and the Jesko Hydra, with the Hydra being able to do 149 seconds. So the Hennessey does actually have an advantage here as well. The handling is higher, the top speed's almost the same, and the braking, while it is worse, and the acceleration, while it is worse, are the only two things that hold it back. In the end, this is a pretty close battle, only having about 3 or 4 seconds between them, with the Jesko Absolut being capable of 159 to 160, while the Hennessey could do 156 to 157. Unfortunately for the Absolut, this will be a leading point for the Hennessey Revolution, bringing us to a 4 to 3.5 change of pace. On to the next category. Alright, in Category 10, Stability, we see some interesting results. So, with the Hennessey Revolution first, this car is pretty good since all the other cars in the game have gotten more stable over the past few recent updates. I don't know if it's the tight tires, increased grip, or what, but cars have been feeling a bit better in driving Empire, which is of course a good thing. And this car shares in that. This car isn't terrible with the stability. It's not like the Solus GT or anything. It's able to handle most of the corners pretty well, but you do experience a good amount of bumping on races like cross country and circuit. So I can't really recommend this car for stability. I think it's okay, but all the bumps mean you'll have a harder time against opponents. Against setting better times, you'll feel frustrated. But on the other hand, the Absolute is definitely the best feeling Jesko. I don't know if it's the lower handling or what, but this car feels great compared to the other Jeskos. I had no real issues with it. It's pretty smooth braking and accelerating. I don't notice any major problems, and I find it to be a really smooth experience. I don't know if you feel the same, but in my experience, this car is better than the Venom Revolution, and it gains the point in the stability category. We have made it to the final category, Category 11, Ease of Use. So, first off with the Hennessey, again, it is the better of the two cars. Definitely just is. The handling is way higher, the braking's smoother, the acceleration's lower, so it gives people more time to react to things. You can, again with the top speed makes cars harder to use, but both cars have this disadvantage. The Jesko's handling is even worse. You can't recover from corners as well. Although the brakes do give it a saving grace, it's not really enough to put it over the incredibly high handling and the smoother acceleration that the Hennessey has. I think it's not too cut and dry, but if I were to give an advantage to any car, it would have to be the Hennessey in this category. And with that crazy close finish, it is time to wrap up this versus video. Both of these cars are incredibly good in their own rights. When put against each other, they are almost a match in terms of skills across the board. This was an intense video. I'm so glad you all came to watch. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.